Welcome to Inside the Skev and the Real Estate Diplomat, and I'm your host, Aaron Masliansky. Today, I'm going to be speaking with Deputy Consul General of Israel to the Midwest, Daniel Aschheim, and we are going to be speaking about everything of how Israel is connected to this area, how people in this area of the Midwest are connected to Israel, and I thought it was appropriate to bring it to both shows. For those of you who don't know, who listen to the Real Estate Diplomat, I have a show called Inside the Skev, which is all about my local area, Skokie and Evanston. And for those who listen to Inside the Skev and don't know about the Real Estate Diplomat, that's a show all about global real estate and what it's like as an American to buy and sell real estate around the world, or for people who want to come to the U.S., how you go about doing it. So no better way to do that than to talk to somebody who is in the consulate office of a country, especially one like Israel that's so well connected to this area. And before I start, I do just want to dedicate this episode to my grandfather, Eugene Chez. We're recording this on Thursday. He passed away early this morning. I thought about postponing doing this interview, but I want to do this in his honor. He was a big supporter of the state of Israel throughout his life. My family, my uncle fought in the Israeli military. Another uncle worked to help design a base out there in the 80s. And just have had a connection to the country, and I'm sure he would be proud, and I will certainly miss him. And he was a big inspiration to me through everything I do in my life and my career, and connection to the community. So with that, Daniel, thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me, and my condolences for your loss, and I'm proud to be part of this dedication.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. And, I think, having your position, the position you have, I think is very, very interesting to me. I mean, obviously I like real estate and all these things, but I'm very interested in global affairs and being able, and some of the things that I do is I like to represent, United States or different interests that I have. And you represent your country, Israel. And how did you decide to get into working for the consulate and being a diplomat?
So it's a great question. It was always a dream for me. As I was 16 years old in high school, I was a member of the delegation, which was called Young Diplomats, arranged by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Education. They chose 40 students from around the country to go and represent Israel. Every couple went to a different country, and I was chosen to go to Austria, to Vienna. And it was an amazing experience. We met with politicians, we met with journalists, we were on the press, we met with the mayor of Vienna, we met with civil leaders, academic leaders, and I said to myself, this is my goal, and I'm going to achieve this goal. And even though it was not easy, many years passed, and I tried, and once I didn't succeed, and then I retried, and eventually I was accepted out of many applicants to join the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I did the cadet course, which was 8 months of a lot of trainings in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. And then I started as a diplomat. My first post was in Dakar, West Africa, Senegal, which was a unique, challenging, fascinating experience. And after completing 2 years there, I came to Chicago.
How did they decide to send you to Senegal?
That's an interesting story. I also asked myself the same question. Especially, I didn't know the language, French or all of the local languages. I had no previous connection to that, but they thought there's a fit there, and they needed a diplomat there, and they thought that my capacities and my capabilities will be relevant to the needs there. There are a lot of challenges there. It's a Muslim country. They are the heads of the Palestinian Inevitable Rights Commission in the United Nations. They vote against Israel every resolution. Yeah. Nevertheless, we have very strong bilateral relations. And our goal there as diplomats is to strengthen the bilateral relations and also improve the multilateral relationships.
How did you still have a strong relationship if they vote against? Because Israel is an interesting country. There are definitely supporters around the world, but it sparks a lot of emotion. So how do you practically work through that? We look at, say, like the Abraham Accords, which recently have taken place and are strengthening bonds between Arab countries and Israel. how does that happen?
So the great thing is that being an Israeli diplomat is never boring. So this is number one. It's a job that is always interesting. It's always interesting, as you described it correctly, Aaron. There's always something happening. Whether it's new historical peace agreements, similar to what you described as the Abraham Accords. I just want to mention the Abraham Accords to the listeners who are not familiar with that. These are the historical peace agreements that were recently signed between Israel, the UAE, Bahrain, Dubai, together with the UAE, Morocco, and also Sudan, in order to change the face of the Middle East. These are true, significant peace agreements that are between the politicians, but also between the people. And we're already seeing significant trade agreements, cultural agreements, tourism agreements, people-to-people agreements, things that we are seeing that we couldn't imagine that could be between Israel and Arab countries. I'll just give you an example. In 2017, I went with my wife on a honeymoon, and we went to the beautiful Maldives, and on the way, we said we want something exotic. And this exotic place was Abu Dhabi and Dubai. They called it the Las Vegas of the desert of the Middle East, New York of the Middle East. The only problem was that it was not allowed by law there for Israeli citizens to get in. And we needed to use our foreign European passports. We came in, but it was not a great feeling, understanding that you're coming into a place that is not where you're wanted. Fast forward to 2022, out of 15 of my closest friends, 12 visited Abu Dhabi and Dubai with direct El Al Israeli Airlines flights from Tel Aviv to Dubai.
Wow.
I needed to fly through Rome, Alitalia to get in, and now we have direct daily flights there. We have kosher hotels with Israeli performance singing. There are hundreds of millions of dollars, investments in high-tech, in healthcare, environment, clean energy. All of this is done, and this is really, truly peace and change, historical change in front of our eyes.
And that, I mean, is that what, in many ways, is the role of an embassy or a consulate to be able to make that? I mean, how did you get to those steps?
So this is a lot of work on the ground for many, many years. Some of it was covered, some of it was open. A lot of it was behind the scene, a lot of work of diplomats trying to build relationship from top down and down up. And this is what a true diplomat does. So this is what we are doing here in the Midwest. This is what we are doing in the Middle East. All over the world, we are here to build bridges between people to people, communities to communities, politicians to politicians, but all the ways. It's not enough to be only in good contacts with the leadership. We need to be in good contacts with the civil leadership and with the people's hearts. And hearts and minds is in the end, and especially in democratic countries, what makes the change. So the more close and strong relationship we have on the people-to-people level, the more stronger the relationship will be between countries.
And what are some of the things, examples of things that you do here in the Midwest? I mean, obviously, this is an example of being on a show like this, a local and global show, to talk about things. But what are some of the different things that you guys go and do in events and whatnot?
So it's a great question. So we are responsible here. We are based in Chicago, but we're responsible for 9 states in the Midwest. So we have the largest territory in the United States out of the other consulates. And our work spreads from working on the political level with senators, congressmen, governors, and other members of the political system. We're working on cultural ties, working with cultural institutions to bring Midwest closer to Israel and Israel closer to the Midwest. We are working with academic institutions on strengthening connections between Israeli academia, local academia, commerce and economy, bringing Israeli companies to work in the Midwest, bringing Midwestern companies to work in Israel. We're working with the press, with the media, doing things like we did now. And a lot of our focus here goes on community work. The community work we are focusing here is with the Jewish community is one element which is very important for us, and also in the areas you described before. Sure. A lot of them live here also in Evanston and Skokie and in other parts of Chicago. But not only, we have in Detroit a strong community, Indianapolis, Minneapolis, and Milwaukee and many other communities around. But a big focus we put here, an emphasis, is on working in West Chicago, South Chicago, with the local African American communities, with the leadership there, and with the Hispanic Latin American communities in the western part. This for us is very, very important to emphasize. We are here to partner, work together, bring Israeli expertise to invest in areas that we think we can be of help. And we see local leadership as partners, equal partners, in order to improve their communities' lives. And we have projects we recently did an event with the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, a pitch competition for young social entrepreneurs. We have social impact grants for local organizations who invest in values, in things that are done for their community's sake. We work on trauma resilience. We heal the healers, work with people with gun violence, leadership of the organizations, how to deal with post-traumatic disorders, and many more projects that we do all around the Midwest.
I mean, for a small country, Israel has so many various experiences. I mean, between the great tech industries and agriculture and whatnot, but unfortunately dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of war, terrorist attacks and things like that. So you're able to leverage that experience with what's going on with gang violence or other things, and I think that's very unique.
It is a unique model. Unfortunately, as you said, Israelis are living with terrorism for many, many years and wars, and due to that, there's been a lot of expertise that were learned in Israel and produced methods of how to deal with post-trauma and how to deal with managing mental health problems that are related to that. And based on that, we brought these companies to work alongside local leaderships here in order to see what we can do together in order to work on gang violence, gun violence, domestic abuse, and more things that are challenges in these regions.
That's pretty amazing. But you also talked about how you're dealing, making connections with universities, so different research and things like that. And I went to University of Illinois, and I remember there were different programs. I think there were connections with Israel. Here at Northwestern University, they have programs where, like the Kellogg Business School, I think they have connections with different, where you can go and travel to Israel and do part of the program there. And they also have Hong Kong and some other places around the world. But those are the types of connections that you, as a consulate, will help make.
Yes, that's true. We have those are a part of them. We have even more. So you mentioned also Northwestern here in Evanston. There's a great law program. They are located in the city, but it's part of the university here. And they have with the Tel Aviv University in Israel. And they have many faculty exchange programs, student exchange program. But we're also talking in broader scales of investment in Israeli startups, Israeli economy, by universities here. We're looking for the next opportunity. It works a lot of times with Israeli professors and local professors investing in new technologies that are going to be changing the world. We're talking about quantum exchange. We're talking about many different fields that are the new fields that are explored together by researchers from here. But it's not only researchers, it's faculty and it's student exchange as well.
It's pretty important. And a small example, I think, of it's not small. This is an important example of connection between business here in Chicago and business in Israel. I had Ilan Mosbacher on my show a while ago. He used to work for SpotHero, and SpotHero partnered with Waze, which is an Israeli company which is now owned by Google, and they put these transponders on Lower Wacker Drive. So when you're driving along there, it's helpful for SpotHero for their parking garages, so you know what the capacity is and how to get people to their garages that they contract with, and for Waze to be able to have GPS directions when you're underground. So I think that's for those here in Chicago, that is a clear example of Israel and Chicago partnering together, and I'm sure that the consulate office helped make that happen.
So this is a great example, and I'm still waiting for my Waze to work in under Wacker Drive.
Oh, it's not working perfectly?
I'm not sure how much it's successful because I have both apps. I'm still waiting. It still thinks I'm on the other side of the lake.
Okay.
But doesn't matter. But I think the idea is great. And there are many of these technologies. It's a great example, but there are a lot of the things that are produced in Israel or developed by Israeli startups, Israeli know-how, goes out and is bought by companies based here in Chicago or in the Midwest in general, whether it's connected to cybersecurity, health tech, cyber not only security, but we're also talking about things that are connected to banking in cyber, and we're talking about agricultural technologies in other fields, but a lot of these things are connected also to artificial intelligence and car industry and the autonomous cars, produced here in the area, in the Midwest. We see it also in the Michigan, but also here in Illinois. So a lot of these companies join together, accelerators and business development work together and form these partnerships, which are for the benefit of Israelis in Israel, of Americans in America, and for the entire world.
Yeah, it's a great connect. It's almost like just this virtual incubator of
Exactly.
people working together all the time, and and I'll even bring it home here. I mean, there's the connection between Israel and Chicago. We're here in the Dreamtown office in Evanston, and Dreamtown Realty is actually owned by Yuval Dugani, who is Israeli, and he came over here. He started buying real estate, and decided to open up a brokerage, and now it's a brokerage firm with over. Real estate brokerage with over 400 agents, and we're all across the Chicagoland area, and that's just another good example of how Israel and Chicago or Midwest really partner together.
Yeah, and I think it's wonderful to see the people-to-people connection that we talked about before, to see how one person with a vision or a group of people with a vision work together on shared interests, whether it's business interests, whether it's morality issues, whether it's to help society, but working together and finding the things that we see eye to eye. We see it as part of the values, and we, America and Israel, share a lot of shared values together. And this is what we see in example. Or one person coming, working, finding the brilliant minds here in Chicago, the great workforce here in the suburbs or in the city, and joining efforts together to improve lives of people or to help them find their apartment or their dream apartment.
Right. Or their large, giant home.
Exactly. Home, apartment.
Whatever it is. Speaking of real estate, I mean, I know personally of several people who have gone and moved to Israel who are living here, and vice versa. A lot of Israelis coming here to move to Chicago. What is it like? Let's first talk about going to Israel. What is it like for an American to be able to buy real estate in Israel? Do you have to be a citizen? Do you... what's the process like? Do you know?
So the process of buying real estate in Israel is a bit different than Every country has different rules. In Israel, most of the things that are bought are by Israeli citizens. Nevertheless, a lot of members of the Jewish community around the world are eligible to become Israeli citizens as new olim, and they can do it. It's not necessarily only for them. It is also open for non-citizens to invest in different properties. The taxations is different, and the procedure and the bureaucracy is different between the different groups, if you're a citizen or you're not a citizen. So we're not going to get into details,
Sure.
But there is a difference between them. Nevertheless, the market, I would say the Israeli market currently is in a very sensitive situation because the real estate prices are extremely high, and a lot of it is because of foreigners who are buying property in Israel and don't live there. And it's not aimed for investment, but it's aimed as vacation homes. And that causes many challenges for the Israelis, the young Israelis, that it's harder for them to afford apartments. So my call is when people want to come and invest, what is good for Israeli economy, and I think also very good for the pocket of an investor, is thinking about who needs investment in Israel, and there are great peripheral options in southern Israel, northern Israel, places that need funding. There are great opportunities, great minds there, and it could be, these are the hubs of food tech in northern Israel, in Kiryat Shmona, cyber tech in down south in Be'er Sheva. There's a cyber industry there. PayPal opened its headquarters there. It's not in Tel Aviv, not in Jerusalem, and those are the places that I think need investments. They can be very beneficial for someone who comes to invest because the costs are very low. And with the right investment, it could bring also a great income in the future and support society and economy in Israel, rather than go to the places that the market is already full, expensive, and less relevant for an investment.
So like a Tel Aviv or Jerusalem would be very high point in the market. So
Correct.
One of my friends moved to Be'er Sheva, and him and his wife and family. And it's very different because a couple other friends are in the Tel Aviv area. I forget exactly which suburb they're in, but it's a huge difference in pricing. And in the Negev near Be'er Sheva and everything, that does give you a lot of different opportunity. Are there different programs that incentivize outside investors to go and purchase, or even let's say I wanted to go develop real estate in Israel. Is that possible?
So it is. It really depends what is your business there. So developing specific projects, there are certain benefits for certain areas more than others. I don't exactly know the difference between if you're a foreign company who wants to come and join an Israeli company or do it alone. I know there are a lot of companies from abroad who are building the light railway, the subway, the underground, and many different infrastructure projects. There are also those who build also building structures, bigger ones. I don't know on the real estate for living projects, but I'm sure there are also companies who invest there. It's a more challenging market there, but I know there is a lot of need for investments of companies getting in also. So whether it's high tech, whether it's startup, whether it's connected to low tech, or people producing and building factories, manufacture lines in these cities. So there's space for infrastructure, space for that. I'm sure there's also a need for developing larger projects, also for living. I don't know the details exactly of what are the benefits and what is the procedure, but I know of many companies that do that.
And I mean, are you able to get a mortgage there? I mean, are mortgage rates comparative to, say, what you would get in the United States?
So until, I would say, 3 months ago, before the interest went higher, like here when the bank raised the interest, so it was very low and very affordable. So many people took high amounts of mortgage. I know that you need to have, for your first apartment, approximately 30% of the cost you need to have with you prior, and then you can continue and take the mortgage for the rest of the 70%. It's different for the second and third apartments, because that's already you're seen as an investor.
Right.
Then you have to have more cash in advance. But it changes between the different deals. But all in all, mortgages are now a bit higher because of the interest, but they're still affordable.
Yeah, and for people who are listening to this and maybe have never been to Israel and they see different things on the news, or you hear about terrorist attacks and whatnot, how do you manage the risk of certain things that can happen? I mean, does Israel feel safe when you're there?
So that's a great question. I hear that often. Israel is one of the safest places in the world, in the Western world today, and the crime rates are extremely low. And when you walk on the street, it's one of the only major cities in the world, that you see people, men, women, walking alone at nights on dark alleys, anywhere you want, in any city, big city, small city, medium city. It's very common. Yes, there is the security threats from times, but it's usually under control. And when it's not, it's pretty clear. The security forces are there, the army, the secret agencies are there to protect the citizens. Yes, there are occasions that things happen, but if we also look at crime rates and amount of casualties here, what we read here in the news in Chicago versus Israel, you'll see the numbers are higher in Chicago in a weekend than what you'll see in a few weekends in all of Israel. Yeah. So therefore, one needs to take that, also put that in proportions. There is no actual risk on your daily life. Of course, when terrorism activities come, it's more challenging.
Are people scared of what's going on with talk of what's happening with Iran?
People are scared because it's an existential threat for Israel. Yeah. The difference is, for many countries in the world, it's a strategic problem, tactical problem. For Israel, it's an existential problem. And the fact is that the Iranian regime, and we saw it yesterday and today in the news, sent to Turkey a squad, part of the Iranian government, to try and kidnap, hijack, and murder Israeli tourists in the city of Istanbul. We had our foreign minister, Yair Lapid, visit Istanbul today to meet the foreign minister of Turkey to thank them for their efforts to stop Iranian country terrorists from killing Israeli tourists in Istanbul. That's one example out of many that successful attempts in the past. But one needs to understand, a country that supports terrorist proxies on a daily basis all over the Middle East and around the world, acquiring nuclear weapons is a threat to the world's stability. And this is not by chance that the Middle East joint efforts, the moderates against the extremists. This is part of what we discussed before about the Abraham Accords. Here's what we are seeing. It's a significant change. The fact is that the moderate Arab world is joining the West and seeing what the Iranian threat is. And we need to be very clear here. The world needs to be clear. A deal with Iran can only be signed when we know that it's longer and stronger, longer duration, that forever they will not acquire nuclear weapons. Not to say for today it's fine in 2 years or 3 years, no. And it needs to be dealt with all wings, supporting terrorism, undermining the existing regimes in the Middle East, and not acquiring nuclear weapons ever.
Yeah, it's incredibly important that happened. And I imagine the work of the consulate or the embassy in Turkey was instrumental in helping to protect Israeli citizens.
All the time.
There.
Yes.
So that's another job that the consulate
True.
would have. And luckily you don't have that type of situation going on here in the Midwest. But if you were stationed somewhere, or if that were to occur here, you'd be the forefront of helping the citizens.
And we are in the forefront also of danger. They wanted to kidnap Israeli diplomats and tourists. So a combination, we are always under threat, unfortunately. As representatives of Israel, as you said, we are living in a rough environment. It's, of course, not the same threats, but we're also experiencing different challenges here in the Midwest on sometimes in campuses. And we see activists that are not letting people who want to support Israel vocally, they're not letting them have a freedom of speech, and they're threatening them. They're threatening Jewish students on campuses. A lot of anti-Semitic attacks that they faced all around the Midwest, and this is alarming. Yeah. So we are here also to help our brothers and sisters.
No, it definitely is. I've spoken with the head of the Hillel in Champaign, and he told me about things that were going on there, and it is threatening. I mean, people are definitely allowed to have different opinions, in any direction. But the threat of violence, I think, needs to subside completely. Needs to stop.
Let's take a quick break to hear from our supporters. When I need support with Apple products, I call Lapin Systems. Lapin is the SCEV's most experienced Apple certified specialist. They've been around since 1995, so they know what they're doing. They have convenient locations in Evanston, Lincoln Park, and can meet you anywhere in the Chicagoland area. Lapin is your best choice for repairs, networks, upgrades, and so much more. Skip the hassle of the Apple Store and call them at 312-328-9945 or visit their website, lapin.com. That's LAPIN.com. Mention Inside the SCEV for 10% off all approved labor charges.
Moving day is a happy day, but how can you be sure all of your stuff will get to the new place in the same condition they left the old place? Upgrade your experience to First Class Moving and Storage. You'll get a team of professionals who treat all of your belongings with care and have the right tools to make the job go smoothly. They even offer a full packing service. Upgrade to First Class Moving and Storage. They're local and independently owned. For more info, visit the website at firstclassmovers.com. That's the number one, stclassmovers.com.
Hi, I'm Aaron Masliansky, longtime Skokie and Evanston resident, host of Inside the SCEV, and local real estate expert. As a community connector and realtor with Dreamtown Realty in downtown Evanston, I know firsthand what makes the SCEV such an amazing place to live. When I'm helping my clients buy and sell properties inside of the SCEV or out, I'm doing it with the best technology and support team behind me at Dreamtown. During the pandemic, I've been able to help my clients seamlessly stay on track with their home search. From immersive 3D Matterport tours, professional photos, to virtual open houses, my clients can find their homes safely and comfortably, and even from their couch. When you're ready to make a move, know that I'll be here to help. You can always find out more about me at skevinston.com/real estate. Again, that's skevinston.com/real estate, or email me at aaron@skevinston.com. Well, to bring it back to people moving into this area from Israel, there are many Israelis that come here. My first experience is when I was in school, and my first experience really is my aunt, because my Uncle Howie married my Aunt Amia. She's from Israel. They lived in Israel for a few years before moving back to Skokie. And you see that different people moving here, different teachers I had growing up were Israeli coming here, and of course you have so many different people coming for business and whatnot. And a lot of my clients have been Israeli. So is it difficult for an Israeli to come here and buy real estate in Chicago? And how do you make those connections as somebody who isn't from here to get connected within a community? I mean, I imagine that's something that the consulate office may assist with.
So it's an interesting question, the Israeli community in Chicago. So there are different estimates, some between 20 to 30,000, which is quite a lot.
Wow.
It surprises many people, including myself.
That.
Yeah, it is surprising. It's not clear because they're not registered as Israelis coming. We get registered, but it's not the same numbers. Some come to us, some don't. It's not very clear. But this is the Jewish community's estimation, somewhere between 20 and 30,000 Israelis. Most of them live in Skokie, Buffalo Grove, some of them in Lakeview, but those are the majority of where they are, some of them in more western suburbs. Mm-hmm. And the community, I would say, is divided into three. One of them is the older ones who came here for generations ago for different purposes and already more established members of the community in different age groups, different places, and they work, sometimes they know each other, but they work separately. There is the more, I would say, the 20-year ago immigration that came to different areas, most of them working in small businesses on different professions. And we also have the academic community, which is a very, I would say, temporary community that comes for postdocs, comes for PhDs, comes for master programs here in Chicago in the top universities. They come, some of them stay after to work in tech. And these communities also vary in where they live, what they want to buy, the amount of rooms they need, and which neighborhoods they prefer. And I would say that the first community is already, most of them in the suburbs, in the northern suburbs. And as you know, the prices there are pretty stable in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Then we have communities, the other ones in Buffalo Grove and Skokie, that it's relatively affordable compared to the Israeli real estate prices, which are skyrocketing. And then we have those who are living in the city, in Lakeview, in those areas, it's still more expensive, but also compared to Israeli prices, it's easier, and a lot of them don't buy. So those who come as students come and rent. So they come and go, and it's a combination. And for them, it's also, still, if you come and if you would like an apartment in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, you'd pay significantly higher than you would in most places in Chicago.
Yeah, and I was renting a home recently, and somebody who toured it with their agent over FaceTime, she's Israeli, and they were in Israel, and the whole time they're speaking in Hebrew going through the house, and my schooling came back to me, and I understood everything that they were saying. It was great, and being able to answer questions in Hebrew. But they were academics, so I think that's a good example of the
third group.
Part of the third group. I mean, have you seen a slowdown or uptick in moving back and forth during the pandemic?
So it's a great question about the pandemic time. So I came in the midst of the pandemic, September 2020. So I've heard of what was before, but I've seen what was during and currently. I would say that the student level, we didn't see major shifts. We saw students coming during the pandemic, students coming before the pandemic, students coming now. I think it's been pretty stable. I think in general, immigration and emigration was pretty stable and not too many people moved. So most people prefer to stay where they are during the pandemic. So unless they were in a program or in a semester or sabbatical, if they came, most people stayed in where they are. If we're looking about Aliyah, immigration to Israel, from the Chicago area, we saw much lower numbers during the pandemic years than we've seen before. So the reasons vary. Some people say they want to stay close to their communities. Some were fearing the economic situation. We always see people going to Israel, steady numbers for many years. We see a decrease in the pandemic time, but still people moving to Israel as well.
Yeah, some of the people that I know who have moved during the pandemic to Israel decided to move because, and they may be temporary, they may come back, but they may stay permanently, but because they're able to work remotely, they decided, you know what, why not? And they may have business that they do in Israel already, so it made it easier. I mean, that's just a few people I'm thinking of, but but in general, that makes sense that it hasn't been so much because it's been hard to travel. I mean, you couldn't get in. Israel was on the forefront of vaccinations and shutdowns and everything. They were kind of like always the first that were doing everything, and then every other country would copy it.
True, that was the case for a long time.
A good testing ground to be able to figure out what to do. So, right now, you're a consulate general. You work for the government. There's some changes going on in the government. There's going to be a new election, the 5th election in how many years?
3.5. You're not very proud of that, but that's the case.
I mean, that's democracy. It's different than American government. I mean, you have, a parliamentary system of government. So not to get into the weeds here, but if you don't have a majority, you have to go and you have to elect a new government to have a new coalition. So, but that isn't always the best thing in bringing stability. I mean, there's a lot of different things going on with Israel around the world. I mean, we touched on Iran. What's going on in Ukraine definitely affects Israel. Israel's been pretty neutral in what they're doing, and I would suspect much of that is because of what's going on with Iran next door and bringing people, and potential threats through Syria, Lebanon, and just throughout that region. So it's again an existential threat to Israel. So it's hard to be able to do different things vis-a-vis Ukraine, but to not have that stability in government, it's hard to be able to just have that continuous message. So what do you think is going to happen, and how do you maintain a continuous message that keeps Israel strong?
So I just want to correct one thing about the neutrality. Israel was not neutral.
Okay.
Israel has a very clear stance here that Russia is the aggressor and Ukrainian people are the victims. And this bloodshed must end, and there's no justification, not legally, not morally, for what's happening there. So it's true that Israel has interest in our northern borders. Nevertheless, we still have a clear moral stance here that this aggression by Russia must end. So I just wanted to put that clear. Based on your question, yes, we are in the midst of, again, uncertainty in the political system. It's a coalition system. It's a complicated system. It's a system that's built on a majority of votes that you need to form coalitions together. You need to get out of 120 members of the parliament. You need to have a majority of 61 to be with you. So it's not enough to be elected as the largest party. You need to find the largest people who will recommend you to be prime minister, which makes it even more complicated, and different views and different parties and different people with different opinions inside the same party. And after years of elections, after experiencing 4 elections, we finally had a government which was the most diverse government in Israeli history. We had a prime minister from the ideological right-wing party, Religious Jew, 2 other right-wing ideological parties. We had centrist parties. We have left-wing ideological parties, first time in power since the 1990s. And then we had the first time in Israeli history an Arab party, part of the coalition government. So they are part of the Islamic Brotherhood. Islamic Brotherhood, which some of the Arab countries, it's illegal to have that party. In Israel, they were part of the coalition, the head of the Interior Committee of the Knesset. It's a historical, dramatic change. Some people, it was easier for them to grasp, some of them not, but it's an enormous change in the Israeli system. And it worked for a year, and now it's most probably going to be dismissed. On Monday, they're going to vote on it, and probably we'll have elections on the 1st of November or around that area. And then the people will need to decide again which direction, where they're going. And again, it's less ideological. It's more parties saying we would like them or him or her or them to be chosen and not the rest. And it's very connected. It's very tribal in many ways, what we are seeing now. And we are seeing ideological things that are inside parties that are very similar ideologically, still not sitting because of various reasons with each other. Therefore, to cut it short, you asked, what do I predict? I'm not going to predict. I'm not going to predict. It's a lose-lose situation. You can invite me after the elections. I'll be happy to discuss, but I never predict Israeli politics.
This is, I guess, a prediction, but do you know who is going to be the leading candidates for running for election for prime minister?
So as of now, and I'm always asked to talk about Israeli current affairs. Now, Aaron, is there any other country in the world? You said you interviewed many people from around the world in your show.
Yeah.
You talk about current affairs, I can prepare a written speech a month in advance. I know the points. I put my talking points.
Right.
I can clearly read them. Here, I need to do reading of the news on the way to the interview in the car to see if what I'm saying now is relevant, but in 10 minutes could be irrelevant. So that's Israel. That's always how we are. As of this moment, as of Thursday, when we're doing this podcast, the ones that it's the most clear cut will be former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu against the current alternate Prime Minister, who is most probably going to be Prime Minister within a week or two, Yair Lapid. And that's going to be probably the two that are going to be competing against each other, even though it's not a direct elections. It's a party system. You vote for a party and not for a candidate. And therefore, it's not clear. It could be anyone else. Like we saw now, the current Prime Minister was heading one of the smallest parties in Parliament. And it was a vote to put him as, I would say, it's a compromise between the other parties because of bringing them in. So we don't know what it's going to be leading to. Currently, these are the heads of the two largest parties according to the polls and according to the current situation. But it could change. We could see new players coming in. We can see mergers. We can see people leaving the race. It's pretty open and unclear at this stage.
But Lapid will be like the temporary prime minister.
Correct. Unless there's something dramatically different until next week. But if it stays like it looks now, he's going to be interim prime minister until they form a new government, which who knows when will be, but this is the law.
It's interesting, but it's the opposite of what you see in autocracies, where it's just somebody who is the ruler for years and years and years. It's a messy, but fair way of conducting government, where people have their say. And I think that's what's interesting about Israel, where you could come there. It's a very entrepreneurial place. It's a place where the way it was started and everything else, and just the diversity throughout the country just makes it so unique. There's no other place in the world like it.
No, there isn't.
Yeah.
It's unique, it's different, it's vibrant. The democracy is so vibrant that you don't know what's going to be tomorrow. You have so many parties, so many points of view, so many groups now working together apart. It's very emotional and it's very ideological on the one hand, but there it's very personal. It's all of the above, and it's really the vibrancy of democracy. True, living, breathing democracy.
And you're lucky to represent it.
I am lucky and honored to represent it. I enjoy representing it. And I enjoy representing the state, the government, and the people of Israel. And the people of Israel are multi-faced and with different viewpoints, coming from different heritage, different religions, different ethnic groups, different races, different continents, really all of the Israeli civil society.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Now, if you are listening here and you want to learn more to, I guess, learn about what you do here at the Consul General of Israel, or if you want to get more information about Israeli real estate, what are some of the resources that you would go to?
So as for what's going on in the consulate, I highly recommend following our Facebook page, our Instagram page, our LinkedIn page, and our Twitter page. It's Israel in Chicago. And you can also follow my personal and the Consul General's personal accounts. We show a lot of what we are doing on a personal level here in Chicago and what are the activities that the consulate does, what are Israeli policies vis-a-vis different things. On our website, you can find entrance regulations to Israel, also with the changing regulations with COVID. So it's under Israeli Consulate to the Midwest. You can Google that and you'll get the link. And besides that, to understand the real estate market in Israel, I think there are many websites that you can find. You can find agencies that do it in Israel. I'm sure you're connected in your network to different groups in Israel. And I think this is something that is also a pressing issue in Israel. So you can see it in the economic newspapers in Israel, The Marker, which is a great example, Kalkalist, even though those are in Hebrew. But sometimes they have articles in English, Kalkalist, C-A-L, and then The Marker. And then you can also find in Times of Israel, Haaretz, and Jerusalem Post, which are the main news sources, but they have an economic session. And I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of the articles in recent months were connected to the real estate market, because we are seeing the tendencies, the higher prices are continuing on the one hand, but we're seeing the last month or two a slowdown in the purchasing of new apartments, buildings. Even though there are more buildings, that there were more new apartments built, in the last year than in the last decade. So we can see a lot of different trends. And I think in order to invest in Israeli real estate, one needs to learn these trends, understand where they're going, seeing the cities. But I think always when one wants to invest in property or real estate, one needs to go to the place, see the place, live a bit in the place, understand the vibes, understand the trends, understand the areas that you see potential in, believe in what you're investing in. Because I don't need to tell you, with your experience, a lot of people tend to invest, and the real investments go in places that they truly believe in, and not only see it written, but understand, believe in the people, believe in the place, believe in the values, and based on that, they know that their investment is relatively safe. And I think that the best way of investing is coming and seeing and experiencing with your own eyes.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun to do too, because you get to really, there's nothing like traveling and getting to experience a location. And I think we're lucky to be at a point where it's a little bit safer and easier to travel around the world as opposed to what's been in the past 2 years. So
exactly.
It's time to take advantage of it. Well, Daniel, I thank you for your time. I appreciate this. I've learned a lot in this conversation. I hope that all of our listeners have as well. And keep doing what you're doing, and come back to me soon and tell me what your next prediction is as things continue to change. But thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Aaron. I highly appreciate it, and continue the great work that you're doing in this podcast and the fascinating content. And toda raba.
Bavakasha.